So having the ramp surfaces are really fun for us to play with. So, and the musical instruments is good for sensory and imaginative play. So this is an example of a larger park feature, and we just use our weight to make it tip back and forth.
Oh, and this is good for Blake?
Yeah, this is for everyone. They're also really good for like parents with strollers, caregivers with mobility aids. So double slides are actually really good for people of all abilities as well, because not only can you go with a friend, but if I took her out of her wheelchair and put her on the slide, she's not holding up the line while I have to take her wheelchair all the way to the other side. This park is a good park. Next, we're going to go to a park you're probably more used to seeing, which doesn't work for us at all. This is a school playground. This is a playground you're probably used to seeing and just haven't thought about it in this context. So you can kind of see what happens in rocks. And this is an adult pushing. So you can't really imagine a child. I can't see one activity that she could participate in. Like there's nothing at ground level. So now that we're here, this is not a solution. You can't just, she's little. You can't just carry them around, but once you're here, how is she gonna get up onto this? Like, it's just nothing. We would like meaningful, inclusive spaces, which means a surface we can move on. It means not ramps to stairs. It means a place where she can play side by side. And we're not saying get rid of monkey bars, but we're saying maybe make 50% of the park, 50% of the toys that she can use. Because there are plenty of things that all kids can use together, and 50% isn't an unreachable number.
What's the will?
Blake has spina bifida, and so she has paralyzed feet. Her feet are paralyzed as a result of that. That's pretty much her physical impairment, and so she will be a wheelchair user, and she is a wheelchair user already, and probably a part-time walker with mobility devices and sticks. Blake and I were the first people in Saskatchewan to go to Toronto to have fetal surgery. So at 25 weeks, they cut me open, brought her to the front, sewed up her back and put her back in again.
Really?
Yeah. And and then I had her at 36 weeks. So like 11 weeks later. We were the 15th in Canada to do that, and the first from Saskatchewan. Well, right now the biggest concern is that playgrounds are not accessible, and there are only 2 fully accessible parks in Regina right now, and it really excludes a whole variety of people simply because of design. People with mobility devices, they can't go on surfaces such as sand or gravel or wood chips. And so they can't even go to the parks because they can't move in the parks. Then there are other different types of play which just aren't being included in the design, such as sensory play. And also some other clues for other types of disabilities, such as visually impairment, like with the contrasting colors. But for the physically impaired child right now, or caregiver, there's only 2 options in the whole city. It means she can't go to the park except for 2. And the thing that probably worries me most as a parent is we can avoid going to the park, but we can't avoid going to recess. And it's really hard to think about your child sidelined at recess simply because it isn't accessible. It's heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking to think that you can give your child everything, but when it comes to recess, they just have to sit on the side and watch everyone else play simply because the surface is inaccessible. So you could go to pretty much any school, probably in the neighborhood closest to your house, and you'll see stairs, you'll see inaccessible surfaces, you'll see monkey bars, and those things, like, we're not saying exclude them, we're saying design smarter so that we can include people with mobility devices and not just wheelchairs, but walkers or canes. If you design smarter by using different surface materials, having more ground level activities, and there are plenty of activities which are now designed for everyone to be able to get onto, like rocker boats, and there's teeter-totters, and there's just more thought process put into a lot more of the equipment of how to have full body support in some cases. And it doesn't change the everyday kids' experience at a park. It just allows more people to use it. The reason I thought for playgrounds was initially that thought of recess. Because we can avoid parks, but we can't avoid recess.
So your child is going to be in school someday.
Yeah. And so I chose parks. I still fight the other things too, don't get me wrong. But I tend to be really loud about parks because when I looked into the reason why parks are designed the way they are, there wasn't any legislation. In the United States, they have the American Disabilities Act. And since 2012, all parks in the United States are required to be accessible. In Canada, we don't have that. Like, it's crazy to think that just across the border, I wouldn't have to fight this fight. It's really hard. Because everyone can think about, doesn't matter your ability. You can think about growing up on recess, and you can think about being left out. And she's already in that position, and she's not even there yet. Like, just think about, nothing has happened. She's 18 months old. I'm sending her to recess. There's a whole park of kids playing, and she's sitting on the side. I'm giving other kids the choice to not play or play with my daughter on the sideline. I'm telling other kids, I'm not, but society's telling other kids unintentionally that it's okay to leave her out. We are teaching our children by leaving other children on the sidelines that it is okay to separate and segregate people with disabilities. We are telling them it's okay. We're telling them to take pity on her, and there's no reason she should be pitied. She can do anything. She is mobile, she is amazing, and the only thing stands in her way are these physical obstacles. And that's why I want to change why things are designed. And it's not just her, it's a person with a stroller, it's a grandma in a scooter, it's a temporary, like if someone broke their leg for a month and they're on crutches and they're at school, what do? Disability is one of the only marginalized communities that you can just land in any given time. In Alberta, Blake is on several billboards in Edmonton and Calgary about this issue, about designing parks for everyone. Because we find the biggest issue with parks is awareness, because we need to be thought of in order to be designed for. And so we're really excited about the billboard campaign, and I'm really excited to say that it's coming to Saskatchewan. So you'll be seeing my daughter on some pretty big billboards pretty soon, talking about park accessibility. I would love to accomplish parks where anyone can go and participate, I think the statistic is that 1 in 20 children have a disability. And when we go to a park, it's great for us. It really is. But it's amazing for the people around us. Like, it's amazing the conversations, I mostly eavesdrop, well, or told loudly, that I hear with parents talking about, to their kids, about kids in wheelchairs. Simply us being at a park sparks conversations about diversity and kindness and differences. Sometimes we're invited to those conversations, other times they're just happening very loudly next to me. But it is pretty interesting and amazing to see the effect of just being seen has. So it's great for us because we have a park, but it is, if we're the 1 in 20, that is 19 opportunities for other kids to learn about diversity and being a kind human.
Sarah, thank you so much for speaking with us today.